Strange New World, Season 3, Episode 10. Who needs a Nexus? Or a hyper-timeline Neuralink probe? Yeah, it's Another Wonderful Life. And the Season 3 finale. Hey, it is Dr. Trek. Larry Nemecek coming at you here from the heart of Trekland and letting the dust set just a bit on all the recent Trek headlines and new episodes. So hey, instead of a quick take or a hot take, you get a second opinion from Dr. Trek. Hey, I have been writing, editing, interviewing, witnessing, archiving, hosting, dot connecting, and yes, fanning Star Trek for a while now. And I just want to say, this is how they do it. You got a thread here, you got a thread there. This thread, that thread, just scattered threads across all of these standalone episodes until they're all stitched together in this finale. Pretty simple formula, right? What was a thread and what was dropped on the floor and not picked up, though? Huh? Look, let's just get into it. Yes, I want to give kudos this week. A little bittersweet. It's the end of the season, but look, we've got two writers on the bill. Dana Horgan, and yes, she's heard all there is to say about that last name in Trek world of hers. Look, she's had 5 episode credits so far. Little things you may have heard of. Ad Aspera Prospera, maybe. She was a co-writer on both Subspace Rhapsody and Spacetime Adventure Hour this year. And then 4.5 Vulcans. And now this. Meanwhile, her co-writer, Davey Perez, has been with the series since square one on staff. He loves to do the Gorn stories. He loves the horror, the spooky stuff. Yeah. And this year he was bumped up from co-executive producer to executive producer this season. Now look, before Strange New Worlds, he was what? Came out of Supernatural where he rose to producer. He had 52 writing credits there. Here on Strange New Worlds, he's had the 3 Gorn shows, All Are in Part, Memento Mori, All Those Who Wander, and Hegemony Part 2, plus Among the Lotus Eaters and Under the Cloak of War. Yeah. And then, of course, the direct sequel to this one, Through the Lens of Time. Now, through the oddity of modern TV production time dilation, he actually left the series over a year ago after this season, when it was finished writing, decided sometime during the filming of the season that he wanted to leave. So he was not part of season 4, which has already been written and filmed, just not aired. Okay? So aside from horror, he says he loves ancient aliens and bunk theories about them and non-Western based mythology. Well, that explains a lot. And then in the director's chair this week, someone who's no stranger to modern Star Trek's Maya Vervio. This is her 8th here in Disco and After Era. 2 on Discovery in Season 2 and Season 3. 2 on Picard in Season 1 when they did blocks back-to-back. And then for Strange New, she had Children of the Comet back in Season 1. And Hegemony Part 1, the last episode of Season 2. And now this one. Oh. And Runaway among the short treks. A little audition piece, as it turns out. Okay, little things, big things. Little thing? Look, I know this is the crew that loves to party. Parties like no other. In their civvies. But hey, those civvies, they have too much fun in the wardrobe department on this show. Why stick with a crew completely always in their uniforms when they can be in their shirt sleeves? And it looks good. But I have to wonder, besides these 8 or 10 that always get invited to the captain's dinners, what do the other 200-something in the crew do, huh? Just slog along in their uniforms 24/7? Oh, big thing. Yes, and I love this. There is a lot of place, weight in this episode, and really in this season. There's a lot of care on this, which was not always the case in some of the earlier modern era series. So yay. And look, it's all been built up through this season, although we get a few specifics here. So there's the Bud Dates system, all right? And Sky Gowan is a planet in this system where all this action takes place. Now, apparently, Sky Gowan was named for two of the writer's assistants this year. Skylar Ojeda, the writer's assistant, and then the writer's PA, Lisa McGowan. I always love those kinds of things. I've been collecting them, well, since day one, and if you see the TNG Companion, you'll get that too. I'm glad to see others are picking up on that. That's something we have to archive, okay? And then there's Kali Kachma, which is the city here on Sky Gowan. It's the same as the Vesda phrase. I'm wondering if that's a portmanteau too. We'll see. Now, apparently Sky Gowan is 11 hours at full warp from wherever they wound up in prior episode, right, in 309. Now, if you say full warp and you're going to go 11 hours, really you're talking about sustainable warp, not peak warp. Okay, so by definition, is that Warp 8 here? Thanks to the updated Trek charts, as shared by Tim Peel, obviously, and as we can mostly see here on the whatever lab table, Pelia and Scotty are pointing out, Sky Gowan is way out there past Tholian space. It's behind where Cardassia will eventually be located once the feds make contact enough to map it. I mean, it's way, way out there. Now, look, those grids are standard 20-year light-year sector grids. So, yeah, that's about 160, 170 light years from either the mystery wormhole or Vadia. The Vadia system, home to Vadia 9. And yes, ley lines, they're not named for Willy Ley, the rocket scientist. They're actually a mythological, folktale-y kind of thing. Apparently, this is another indulgence of Davy Perez. And apparently, it's a cute term that's been adapted by the 23rd century. Transit lines, or maybe more than that. Now, on Sky Gowan, they have natives with those kind of shell-head skulls, but look, per the description, did you notice there's some Orions mingling in there? Yes, some humans. I was really in awe here. There are 20 or 30 extras that look, that's not CG. And they've gone all out with costumes and that makeup, so, you know. And then, boom, they wind up back on Vadia 9 through that portal. Now, the portal on Sky Gowan has Swahili, okay, because it was meant to be shared with Mbenga? I don't know. And Uhura just was a happy accident that she could decipher it too. But then remember, the Beholder back on Vadia 9 had Chinese language. There's just a lot of Earth in this whole system. I don't... In fact, Demitus Tenebris Interitus Vita Clara, you thought that sounded like Latin? It was! With the darkness of destruction gone, behold the bright light. Well, okay, the Vesda. But one more Earth language? Are we sure these guys haven't visited in the past? Little things. Okay, while we're at it, the Vesda, that's a group. That's the civilization, that's the society, that's the species. But then they say we're got to stop it. We have to not let it escape. I'm confused about numbers here just a little bit. But you know, half the time they say the Vesda, I think we're talking about a ship. Okay, little thing. Does Pelia actually really say that she once hung out with a time-traveling doc? Yeah. Oh, come on. The cute is real. But here's the thing. Was that really a TARDIS on the port nacelle a few weeks back all by itself? Or was maybe there a DeLorean inside, huh? Or even Ziggy? Oh boy. Oh, another little thing. I mean, just the wordplay here. A bloodlock? Ooh, now that's a term. And did you notice this? After 60 years of our time, we finally know that poor, ill-fated Class J cadet ship, the infamous one in Pike's life, was the Lucas. Come to find out, Davy tells me Lucas was a memorial to his infant nephew who had recently passed. But we're going to tilt the combined ships and rotate 43 degrees? Really? Oh, big thing. You know, at one point, being graphically colorful as she can be, Pelia talks about the Vesda being unleashed and says, the sky would rain demons. Well, you know, they look demonic. Is there any chance the Vesda and these long-distance portals are actually the demons of air and darkness? You know, the Iconians? Or maybe just a long-distance relation? Food for thought. And yes, I have some other questions. So at the beginning of the episode, Marie Battelle, she beamed aboard from a courier ship, a starbase that we just don't see in the visuals. She came from somewhere and is being relayed back to Earth. They're not orbiting Earth because they have to get her back to Earth in the beginning. It's a little bit of a mystery. That's some pretty reddish gaseous mini-strands out the windows, though. Oh, and then in part of the climax here, did I hear this correctly? One ship's phaser bank beam had half the energy of a sun? I mean, I gotta have to say, that portal had a hell of a radiation heat shield force deflector when Battelle and Pike are just standing on the other side of it. Oh, and fave lines, I do have a couple. On the planet, from of all people Uhura, when she says, just pointing out, the last time we walked into something like that, we almost got trapped for eternity. Very matter of fact. I mean, where else do you get to deliver lines like that? It is such a Star Trek line. Unless, of course, it's on Buffy. Or, speaking of, Doctor Who? Oh, and another one. Much later in the episode, the very simple observation. Easy isn't interesting. So who did we have in this roundup? Well, it's a season finale, you can tell. They tried to make room for as many folks as they can, even if that was primarily in one of the party scenes, right? So, hey, yay! Ensign Gamble is back. Chris Myers. Well, okay. He's back, Jim, but not as we know him. And look, even with the party gathered round, there's no Beto Ortegas. In the end, does this mean that Beto is really bye-bye? But that finale family reunion moment extends also to Jenna Mitchell on the bridge. Yes, Rong Fu is here. No lines, but a finale moment. And yes, Sam Kirk still is. Well, we're not nearly anywhere close to Dennifer yet. I mean, everybody in the cast here gets a moment. It feels like the scenes are very deliberately doled out, even apart from the party scenes. There's 2-person scenes, 3-person scenes. Everybody behind Pike and Battelle. You get those opening and closing party scenes, the work the problem scenes. And hey, La'an learned the neck pinch? Is that her augment smarts? Or, I mean, other non-Vulcans have done it. Data, Picard, after a meld. And yes, we get another early Spock-Kirk gratuitous if you know scene for foreshadowing. But I want to say, Una here, Rebecca Romaine, just leading the landing party is her main moment here. And then on the other extreme, just sitting with Pike in the end, in the moment. Her just sitting with him, to me, does as much for first officerhood as almost any other first officer I could remember seeing in that way. I mean, it's almost like it's the hallmark of Majel's #1 legacy. We didn't see much of Majel's #1, but that was her, competent and in control, and occasionally having a moment like that. So much with so little in this episode she accomplished. And then what can you say about Pike and Battelle, Anson and Melanie? So much great chemistry, and carrying so much of this episode in the end on their shoulders. It will be a shame to lose her. So yes, I'm already to my final thoughts. It's an interesting episode. It's a bittersweet episode. Bittersweet to make me wonder now, in hindsight, if I can do this already, what was the frame of the season? I mean, canonically, philosophically, emotionally, we had all these couples all year long. Or was there just this one that was important? And then on top of that, this episode, and apparently, thank you, Davey, for this, but it was very metaphysical. It was very fantasy-ish. It was far more than Gene ever originally wanted to do. I mean, there was this Doctor Strange element to it, and all into the spectrum of the MCU, modern superheroes, the fantasy hero. I kidded, but I mean it. Buffy-ish at times. Yeah, the pseudo-magic. I mean, the smoky, dry ice hands. Not very Star Trek. I do feel like I was time traveling back to the 90s and getting a Xena Buffy mashup. And yet we got the cover line. Pike, was it, says talking about a science so advanced it might as well be magic? I mean, that's not a first time for Star Trek. That's happened at times, whether it's Ardra or whether it's Korob and Sylvia. We've had that before. I'm going to have to think about this one for a while. But oh, these gorgeous costumes! Yes, at the party, and among the natives on Sky Gowan. Somebody saved up in the budget for this one. I hope you all appreciated it. But you know what's funny? I love how through all of this episode on Vadia 9, before and now again in the portal room, those dead bodies just lay there. No one's going to clean them up. And no, as someone pointed out, they are not trying to evoke the TNG infamous masks of Data and that library with the Vesda masks. They were odd, though. Cool, but odd. Now, look, I talked about the Vesda almost feeling like some long-distance cousin with their portals to the Iconians, who were called the Demons of Air and Darkness. You know, we've had trans-distance biggies before. You remember the Calandrins in TOS? We only had the one surviving robot, Lee Merriweather, that which survives. The whole Enterprise was flung 990 light years away and had to get back, which is a little crazy, but still, must have been a really high Cochrane factor to get them there, even at high warp. But look, there's a piece of me, aside from that, as quirky and weird as they were, and with as many unexplained mysteries as we still have in Star Trek now, especially with the modern era, there's a piece of me that still wants the Vesda, if not Iconians, to be somehow related to the evil worship by the Zhat Vash over on Picard. You know, the Capellian synths who were welcoming them through that little portal, the circular portal in the sky. But yeah, I know. Those creatures were supposed to be synths themselves, and that's not these wee beasties. So, I don't know. How about this, though? We still have no idea who it was, who or what ancients actually bottled up and imprisoned the Vesda in the first place. Or is that what our old friend Camouflage Trelane meant when he said the home planet? Did the Q do that? I do have one pet peeve for this episode, and it's amazing because it just comes at you over and over. Batel, Spock, everybody's talking about what is going on with her altered biochemistry, right? They talk about all the cures that were attempted with her, from the Gorn, from Una's Illyrian blood, the Charybdis plant, all of that, how it kept altering her physiology. But they all keep talking in terms of race. Race this, race that. Races. No. It's species. Look, races are a mostly human construct for maintaining control over different cultures. There's nothing scientific to it aside from the melanonin in your skin, in your epidermis. There really is no difference aside from what climate may have done over the eons. But that's that's an Earth construct about melanonin. And yes, we know there are tones in skin color if you want to go here among Vulcans, among Klingons, among Romulans. Okay, fine. But those are all within their planet. What they were talking about here, the Gorn, Illyrians, the Charybdis, other things, those are all from different worlds. So by definition, they're all different species. I'm just saying. But this story, it's the word to use, uneven. As good as this season has been, as exciting and innovative and imaginative as many of the episodes have been, including this one, there is a core message here. This issue of, is it a tragedy or is it fate? And yes, that entire segment, the unlived life, right? I mean, what do the knock? What does that shooting star, that meteoroid? It keeps shifting. Are we supposed to have a given definition, a given meaning? It was an amazing little dramatic device for the screenwriting and the acting. And what we finally get here is that Pike got to live his life, right? It wasn't just a future edited version. Davy Perez in that interview said, In that, Pike lived his life, not just the glimpses. There was a lot more. We just saw it edited, a la The Inner Light. That was an inspiration. I mean, I'm thinking even of Twilight for Archer and his memory worm. The Nexus ability, yes, what that allowed. We still don't know. It's so loosey-goosey, I know. But here the irony is that we always expected him to have the life cut short. And in this reality, Battelle, she and all of us expected him to go first, not her. So in the end, the season full of cures to bring Battelle back, it's that what set this up. It's Pike, not Battelle, who will be mourning and keeping the memory alive of the other. In contrast to everything that's been said since, almost moment one of the pilot. So, here we are. We've wrapped up a season. Wrapping up all these loose threads. Bidding goodbye to Battelle. And Beto, maybe? Anyone else with a B? And yes, there was a glimmer of thought that even as they got to write this season, and film it and go out when the strikes were very disruptive. There was a momentary moment. The industry was starting to turn. Maybe it wouldn't be 24/7. It wouldn't be Fresh Trek all year long. There was a glimmer of thought that maybe this might be the last season. Certainly the show could have ended this way, but it didn't. So yay for Corby passing along that list of planets to explore for 5 years or so. What, if they hadn't done that, they would have had no more missions? Phew. And we are out of Strange New World episodes. That was the season. Again, what was the frame? What was the tone? Was it about getting back around to a surprise turn on fate here with Battelle and Pike? Apparently so. I guess we're ready for the 4th season, which of course is not going to follow now. We won't be back here until after Starfleet Academy has had its run. Then we'll get back to Pike. And of course, along the way, we'll have these audio dramas of Khan's episodes. And apparently now Star Trek Scouts as well. Oh, one more thing. Wait. Vulcans can sense the coming of an earthquake?
Fascinating.
Okay. Put it on the list. I guess here's a good place to sign off on this second opinion. So what did you think about the episode? About the season? Drop your comments below. We'll keep this conversation going. Who needs a hiatus? We'll keep going. Please, though. When you do, like and subscribe, because we're going to be around, right? Can you do all the things? Boost the signal. Hey, look, I dare you to subscribe for some Star Trek sanity. You know what I mean. Because if you crave more Dr. Trek, you enjoyed this, and you want to hear some more of our Trekland point of view, look, I invite you to go over and check out all of our live experiences. Like, wow, Portal 47, our backstage pass every month, my package. The Trekland Treks day tours, next time you're in Southern California with a day to depend and devote to your own unique, customized away mission. And yeah, sure, all the podcasts, right? The Trek Files from Roddenberry, we're now in our 14th season. Hey, Cadet Alice and Dr. Trek Watch Prodigy. And yes, our flagship Trekland Tuesdays live every Tuesday at 1 p.m.ish Pacific. All of that. Plus our Patreon, very modest, our store, everything is all over at LarryNemecek.com. Love for you to go and check it out. And look, we will see you back here next time, maybe for a con, maybe for a Scouts, certainly for Starfleet Academy. Until then, trek well, everybody.